Now, what about all of these liberal dark money groups that are piling on today and gleefully celebrating this, calling this leaker a champion of democracy, saying that this is celebrating it? I mean, saying that this is just wonderful. I mean, isn't the attempt here, isn't this a calculated attempt to try and undermine the integrity of the court, the independence of the court, to try and destroy, basically, its independence?
I've enjoyed your testimony. Professor Frost, I take it that you think the recusal provisions that the United States Supreme Court uses are inadequate. I'm interested in learning more about that. Do you think they undermine, they meaning the recusal provisions at the United States Supreme Court, undermine the integrity of the court?
I do, and I think that what is unfortunate is there's some easy ways to fix and change this, which of course is in Congress's hands, by adding procedures to the recusal statute.
Right. Let me ask you, what do you think undermines the integrity of the United States Supreme Court more, in your judgment? Its recusal provisions, or a member of the United States Senate going to the steps of the Supreme Court and threatening justices by name if they don't rule the way he wants on Roe v. Wade?
So I take it that this hearing is to consider a bill and to consider possible legislative reform to improving the way the court operates and protecting actually all the Article III courts. So that's going to be the focus of my testimony. And here's what this institution could do.
Yes, ma'am, but first, could you answer my question?
So your question is whether people speaking out against the court is more damaging to the court?
No, wasn't my question. My question is, what do you think undermines the integrity of the United States Supreme Court? The inadequacy, in your opinion, of its recusal provisions, or having a member of the United States Senate go on the steps of the United States Supreme Court in front of God and country and threaten justices by name if they do not vote the way he wants them to vote on Roe v. Wade?
So, Senator, unfortunately, over the last decade, particularly the last 5 years or so, I have seen the court come under attack from so many different sources.
Yes, ma'am, but what about that particular?
I think that's a problem. I would certainly not support a senator criticizing the court. It's also a problem when the Senate of the United States will not confirm a nominee for over a year, leaving the court at 8 justices. And it's also a problem when Congress will not amend existing legislation to improve the process of recusal so that all of the justices can weigh in on a recusal decision and protect the integrity of that court. All of those are a problem.
Let me ask each of you this. You're all students. Well, first, I'm going to call you professor anyway. I think you're qualified to be a professor, Professor Payne. You mentioned ethical misconduct by the United States Supreme Court justices. Can you give me examples in the last 20 years of specific acts of ethical misconduct by the United States Supreme Court justices?
I can definitely send you the allegations of misconduct. In the Supreme Court, the perception of misconduct has the same impact as actual misconduct.
But I'm asking for actual acts of misconduct.
Because there's no body to make the legal decision whether something is actual misconduct, I can't point to a decision that's been made. I can only give you the allegations of the potential misconduct, which includes failure to recuse and improper travel.
Okay. All right. Let me ask each of you this, because I consider all of you students of the U.S. Supreme Court. What do you think will be the impact on the United States Supreme Court and people's respect for it as a result of this leak about the draft opinion in the Mississippi abortion case? We'll start on this end, and then I'll let Professor Payne rest a minute.
It was already on. You know, it's an empirical question. I really couldn't say. I think that the leak, the substance of the leak, which shows that the court is going against the majority of the country, is much more damaging to the legitimacy than the leak itself.
Thank you, Professor.
Well, the leak last night is obviously outrageous and should be taken very seriously, but I have a lot of confidence in the court and the American public, and I think that the Supreme Court is going to rise above the circumstance and, as it's done for decades, apply the rule of law and issue a decision that it believes reflects the constitutional principles in the Dobbs case and all others, and trust that the Chief Justice and the court will be able to resolve and issue an honest opinion quickly.
Okay. Professor Frost.
I think the leak was unethical, but I do not think it will damage the court. And I think far more damaging to the court was the failure to fill a seat for nearly a year when a nominee by then President Obama was pending and not acted upon.
Okay. Professor, you're a professor too.
Thank you. I think the leak was seismic, devastating, and heartbreaking. It should go without saying that the Supreme Court can't fulfill its Article 3 responsibility if drafts of opinions are leaked and circulated for what appear to be political purposes. That said, I do think the Supreme Court is fully capable of keeping its eye on the ball and deciding this case ultimately through a final official published opinion in the way that the law and the Constitution command.
Professor Payne.
I think the leak was highly inappropriate, and it also raises the question of what are the specific rules that apply to the officials and the employees in the Supreme Court, because it's not clear about their duty of confidentiality as opposed to the duty of confidentiality for all of the other clerks across the lower courts.
Okay, thanks to you all.
Professor Mascott, am I correct in thinking that you were a Supreme Court clerk?
Yes, for Justice Thomas.
Have you ever heard of a decision, a full draft opinion being leaked months before a case was to be decided? Did that happen while you were on the court?
It did not happen while I was a law clerk there, and it's really unprecedented in its breadth and shocking.
You know, it didn't happen when I was there either, when I was working as a law clerk. I've never heard of it happening. I'm not aware of this ever occurring in the history of the Supreme Court, a deliberate leak, along with vote tallies as well, in what is plainly an attempt to influence the deliberations of the court and to change the opinion of the court. Tell us about the effect of this from an Article 3 perspective. What's the effect on the independence and integrity of the judicial branch?
Well, Senator Hawley, I think it seems clear from the leak that the leaker's hope is that this will intimidate and it will undermine the legitimacy of the court and make it seem like it's not operating smoothly, where the court, I think, has been operating actually with quite a lot of collegiality. The justices are trying to apply the rule of law, and I trust that they will be able to overcome this and issue the correct constitutional decision in this case.
Mr. Dupree, same question for you. I mean, Article 3 independence and integrity is very important. It is increasingly under assault. We saw this before, back during the first Obamacare case. We saw a concerted effort in the press beginning at about this time of the year to pressure the court into a particular outcome. But this is a radical escalation. I mean, a radical breach of the court's confidentiality, a radical breach of the court's procedures, something that really strikes at the independence of the court itself. Tell us about your view on this. I mean, what's the damage that is being done to the court here?
I think it's a devastating action, what happened last night. And as you know, the Supreme Court, in order to fulfill its Article 3 authority, needs to deliberate in private. There needs to be an opportunity, a forum for a candid exchange of views, for the exchange of draft opinions as the justices work through these thorny constitutional questions. And when you have something like what happened here, which by all appearances appears to be a deliberate and calculated political act done for the purpose of influencing the outcome of the course, changing the course of the court's deliberations, it violates the sanctity of the fundamental core Article 3 role that the Supreme Court plays in our democracy. It's outrageous.
It truly is outrageous. Now, what about all of these liberal dark money groups that are piling on today and gleefully celebrating this, calling this leaker a champion of democracy, saying that this is celebrating it? I mean, saying that this is just wonderful. I mean, isn't this a calculated attempt to try and undermine the integrity of the court, the independence of the court, to try and destroy, basically, its independence?
I think it's a situation where you have people who are unhappy with the outcome. And in reaction to that thinking, they don't like what the Supreme Court appears poised to do. They basically want to tear the institution down. They want to dynamite the Supreme Court. They want to blow up the House. It's shocking and outrageous to me that people would treat an institution that, from many perspectives around the world, is one of the crown jewels of our constitutional government, is the United States Supreme Court, and that someone would do something like this, a direct attack on the integrity of the court in order to achieve their preferred political outcome, to me is abominable.
And presumably from inside the court. I mean, something I notice about this leak is this person knew the vote count. This person knew they didn't just grab an opinion that was circulating around. This person knew what the vote was. They knew what it was on the day it was cast. They knew the status of the vote right now. I mean, if this isn't an attempt to change votes and to try to alter that outcome, I don't know what the good of it is. If the person who leaked this is a member of the bar, what are the consequences there? Mr. Dupree, you first.
Well, at a minimum, I could see bar associations stripping that individual of their license to practice law. Beyond that, I think there are just professional canons of responsibility that would govern law clerks or people acting in a legal capacity. And of course, there's also the possibility of criminal jeopardy. I think we'd need to know a lot more about what happened here, but at a minimum, there would be very, very severe sanctions on whoever was responsible for this action.
Professor Mascott, do you have anything to add to that?
I agree with what Mr. Dupree said. I mean, as you know, as a former law clerk, the code of confidentiality and integrity there was of utmost importance. It's shocking that it was violated, and obviously the individual who leaked it would not be able to be a trusted member of the bar. Yeah,
I would think at a minimum we'd be looking at disbarment here. This is something I've never seen before. I'm not aware of it happening ever in Supreme Court history. And it is a grave assault on the institutional integrity of the court. And I certainly hope that nobody else saw the opinion before it was published. I mean, I hope that this opinion was not distributed, and I hope that the attacks that we're seeing are not coordinated, because that would be very, very serious indeed. And I certainly hope no members of this body saw the opinion before it was published and have coordinated in any way with what may well be a criminal act. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.